Hey all. So I feel kind of like a late night host today, but I really do have a good one for you all tonight. I have been waiting to take this particular fight, Doom on Power Snack, literally all season because I took it in off season last time with Reed before his buff, without boosts, and I have not gotten a chance to try it again in a real war that matters since. And here we see a rank 3 Doom placed by a player whose name I recognize, so I expect no suicides. I expect Mystic Dispersion. I am ready. But we'll get to that in a minute. First off, we have over here on path 2, Mojo on this strike counter. This alliance has some smaller accounts. Like I said, we recognized some of the names, so we knew that they weren't going to be a pushover, but there were also some smaller defenders that we were not about to die to. So I'm not using my pre-fight for Torch here, but I do want to get Mojo down as quickly as possible, so I dropped that debuff Siphoner to give myself 25% extra damage on Torch's Incinerates. Didn't land the first parry, but just backed off, right? I did not use suppression here, both because I want those pre-fights for Reed later, and because I want Mojo gaining his bars of power. Use that heavy, and then I'm going to whiff that light attack and back off immediately. And I know I've said to some of you who aren't sure why I still use the whiffed light attack after a heavy. I can't prove that it works, but it sure feels like it, and given how stingy Mojo can be in fights where I'm not able to do that, it really feels different when I do something like that and he stays that aggressive, throwing that many L1s. That's about as well as that fight can possibly go. Making sure I'm recording, I've taken this exact fight, I think against a rank 3 Immortal Hulk before, with Killmonger. I know it's going to go totally fine. Like I've said before, Killmonger's a tank, so even if I get hit, I'd really have to mess this one up to lose. But until then, I'm just going to play the node. I saw an opportunity to push to my special there. I actually should have thrown, I think, one more medium. I have no idea what happened there. Well, I know what happened. I countered too soon. But I think what happened was I was waiting longer than I expected to for him to throw that first L1. And so when he finally jumped, I was like, yay, he did it. And then I ran right into the fists. Don't do that. However, one advantage of that is that him hitting me gives me power, and now I have a little bit of a head start, kind of like a mini power start boost, so to speak, for the rest of this fight, and I don't think he ends up gaining another Fury because of it. So, I don't recommend getting hit, but if you do, use it to your advantage. Notice that I am not throwing those L1s as soon as I possibly can now that I've been hit and have that extra power. I am still trying to run through the full number of hits I have in each category to make sure that I have some room. Now, I felt kind of risky throwing that special one, but I wanted the counterpunch to make sure that I was good after that and that I could remove Protect. Don't necessarily need it. I probably could have finished that there, but like I said, I wanted to keep playing the node just out of habit, right? So that I stay in the rhythm of doing the right thing. That means that I don't have to as actively think about, oh, okay, now I can change my behavior. So I just went for the last heavy to stay with the strike counter node, finished him off. So Power Snack, Backup Recovery, like I said, I'm fully expecting 5 out of 5 Mystic Dispersion. We're going to drop all 3 debuffs, both because they improve Reed's attack, and because all 3 will help in this fight. Suppression will mean that we're giving Doom less power by hitting him, meaning fewer specials. Petrify will fight back against Power Snack, against Mystic Dispersion, and against Backup Recovery, and Debuff Siphoner will both increase the potency of the incinerates that we're going to place on him thanks to having Torch on the team, and blunt his own shocks, which he will put on us every time he nullifies. So he was pretty stingy at the start here. I really thought that he would throw that L1, but he seemed just kind of determined to back me up. I should have used a heavy there to refresh those debuffs rather than just hitting him, because then they wouldn't have fallen off right here when I dodged that special 2. I am pretty comfortable with Doom's special 2 dodge, and it also occurred to me here that now that he's thrown 1, I kind of might as well try and get him to throw 3 in a row, right? Especially because now that my first set of pre-fight debuffs have fallen off, so it's going to be easier for me to push him to at that extra special 2, whereas if I waited until I was fully set up, and I had, I was reversing Power Snack and all that, I'd probably never get him to his special 2 again. But here, notice how little he got from Power Snack and Mystic Dispersion there. Here I've gotten him to throw 3 special 2s in a row, I have that Careful Study passive, and now I can work on the L1s, which is going to be a lot easier because we've basically shut down the node. We haven't reversed it yet, but we have almost shut it down, and so we can pretty comfortably hit into him. Now we've reversed it, and now I have 3 stacks of everything up. So this is the equivalent of 12 buffs, now 13. Now this really surprised me. I know Unfazed exists. I was not expecting it, so good on Kev for surprising me there. But I also went back and did a slow frame by frame of my evade there. I did not auto evade. I just dexed that special. So I'm not really sure why Unfazed triggered, allowing him to smack me. Oh well. Reed does have that extra physical and energy resistance now, so he can take hits a little better. Anyway, like I said, I had 13 debuffs up, which meant that I got 30% per debuff. So 13 times 30, I almost quintupled my attack rating while I had this passive fury up from the L3. But after that, I was just trying to cycle special 1s to keep as many debuffs up on him as possible, to do more damage, and to just knock him down, also to potentially bait out any special 1s that he did get with that taunt. But you can see once that gets set up, Reed just demolishes him. So now yet another Encroaching Stun Sasquatch. I did go ahead and put those debuffs on him. This is actually not the pre-fight from my torch. We had another person place it. They could have taken it, but I start with power thanks to having Reed on the team, as I've mentioned before, and that synergy makes a node like Encroaching Stun where you need to have power to throw specials that much easier, so he just placed the pre-fight and let me take it. As I've said before, being able to intercept with specials, super important here. So here's a surprise, something that hasn't happened in a while. As soon as he gets that 6th stack, he goes straight into Wrath of Tanarak, and he's only halfway down. So this could be a problem. I've just accepted, as I usually do when he goes into Wrath of Tanarak, that any pre-fight debuffs I have on him are probably going to expire, but that's also why I hold on to my specials for moments like that, so that as he starts backing me up, as that timer comes back around, I can throw the special, torches take a good long time, and I can, avoid getting smacked. A little bit more complicated than the last one I took, but still pretty straight ahead. So, this is Redoubled Determination, which means that Kingpin is going to gain quite a bit of extra attack and also a fair amount of power gain for every debuff he has on him. And of course, he places his own debuffs on himself, so you really don't want to give him too many extras. So I had another team member place the guidance boost on him from White Magneto so that my parries are going to be passive, and this is what I was saving my own pre-fight for on Torch, so that my Nova Flames, my Incinerates, are going to be passive as well. So the only debuffs he should get should be the ones that he gives himself. So he starts there with 1 as he takes damage. He could have started with up to 4 if he were duped, and that would have made this more dangerous, but I still could have played around it, right? Just slow and steady. We've already dropped him thanks to the power stings and those boosted incinerates. A full quarter. I'm going to hold on to my specials because, as I've said before a few times, against opponents that are not doing energy attacks or mystics and thus are counted as energy attacks, I like to build to at least one L3 with Torch, because the 2 smolders he gets from that are crucial for keeping his temperature up. Look at how short these incinerates are. I mean, I could be trying to charge heavies and keep it up, but temperature just falls off so quickly when you don't have any smolders that I don't really bother with it. So I do get that special off. Now I'm going to have 2 smolders, and now I'm going to start charging heavies. But first I'm going to be aware that I may have just pushed him to his special 2. Thankfully not quite, but I was ready for that evade and dance. So here you notice I start charging heavies, and look how much slower the temperature drops off. This fight is basically over, but if this Kingpin were duped and, you know, higher rank, then maybe I would have needed to really try and keep that temperature up so I could only apply 1 or 2 at a time, because he would have been gaining more power and I would have had to bait out more. So then the rest of that lane was actually taken by Vega, but then I did have to take this MODOK boss on Brute Force and Limber, as I had before. I was saving 2 of Mr. Fantastic's pre-fights for the boss, but I did want to drop Debuff Siphoner here, just to make my bleeds hit a little harder. So notice here I actually intentionally triggered his auto block, which I had mentioned in one of my previous videos that I felt I was getting kind of cocky and even a little sloppy on this fight, so I wanted to not do that anymore. So I was actually intentionally triggering his auto block, but ready to back off so I didn't get smacked, because on this node when you trigger an auto block, the defender gains power, and the whole point of the first stage of this fight with Killmonger is to get MODOK to a bar of power so that you can trigger True Strike, and then it's basically shut down. So I probably should have been doing that earlier, just hadn't really thought about it because I found it so comfortable to get into the right rhythm with him. But, like I said, I kind of re-examined this fight, and that is definitely how I will be doing it from now on. Notice I'm just spamming the L1s. I'm not really worried about block damage because Killmonger has enough. I'm not using him again. If I trigger Protect, I'm using the Counterpunch to remove that. Not trying to parry and then hit, but just block and then hit, as that seems to be necessary to get the exact timing window right for an intercept. You'll see it here after I get that True Strike back. See there, it's gone. I am not building to the special 2 to try and reduce the damage that I am taking. I'm not building to the special 3 because then I'll lose the easy openings that Counterpunch gives me. The bleed damage on the special 3 is fantastic, but you just do not need it. I mean, this fight looks like it's going to be over inside of 2 minutes pretty easily, even triggering Protect a few times, and even without the special 3. So I just don't see a reason to push to it and risk taking more damage in the fight possibly going wrong because you don't have those easy openings again. Anyway, this was kind of a painful war for us. We actually had a couple of our members lose Deathless Seasons on this one. Just kind of seemed to be a when it rains it pours kind of war. But as I've said before, I've been really proud of this battle group this season. A lot of 164s. No donuts yet, but they've been really delivering. And like I said, this was a fun one. It's been a fun season for me. I haven't been as consistent as I would like. Hasn't really been up to my personal standards. But it's been fun, and it's been with a good group. So, hard to get better than that in this game. Anyway, 3 more wars left. Hopefully we can clinch up Master soon. And I will be back with another one of these sometime this weekend. Take care all. See you then.